Welcome to the VIP Developer Roundtable, where I, your host, Ben Kilson-Walters, ask our developers the big questions from the VIP community. Visit pantheonmmo.com/pledge to ask yours. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Okay, welcome everybody. It is that time of the month again, and I have another two Visionary Realms legends with me today. Chairman and CEO Chris Rowan and Director of Communications and Project Producer Ben Dean. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, hello.
Hey.
Did you try the good day?
I said good day because I was instructed to say good day.
Good job.
Love it. I feel like I'm at home. All right, so we've got a great one today. Topic is investment, development, and marketing. What does it all mean for Pantheon? And we've got some fantastic questions from the community and a few that were not answered from the stream that we did with Co. So let's jump straight into it. First question is, do you plan to do soft marketing till about mid-April, or do you see yourselves pushing harder?
Well, that can be a complex question to answer, but I'll try and keep it short. We're definitely going to ramp up marketing in alpha for sure. And then we'll ramp it up even more about 3 to 6 months prior to launch. We're doing a little bit of stuff now too, which you've probably started to notice. You'll see more and more of that as we go along.
Yeah, that's great, mate. So, Chris, what would you consider success when it comes to Pantheon, both at launch and years down the road?
Yeah, good question. And I'm not going to give a very CEO-like question, CEO-like response to this one. If you want a CEO response, I can clamp it down. But for me and for the entire team, I think it's pretty simple. We want a large, positive, healthy, passionate community, completely immersed in and enjoying an ever-growing world for decades and decades. It's really as simple as that. We think that if we create a world that people want to be in, that's ever-expanding, it's a good place to be, and it's just enthralling, engrossing, immersive, that will lead to business success. It's not through fancy gimmicks and crazy marketing schemes and increasingly interesting business models and ways to charge people, but just by making a really, really great world.
That's it. Absolutely. Very well said. I think everyone's looking for that, a home that we can call home for decades to come. Sticking with you, Chris, what will you use this new funding for, and will it have any effects on PA testing?
It's almost completely for expanding the team to accelerate production and prepare for and get to alpha.
Yeah, great. And how fast do you anticipate expanding your team? Do you have a timeline for which projects will be going first that you can share with everyone?
Oh, I mean, we've always expanded our team as we could along the way based on available funding. If I could throw out guaranteed numbers, then we always have a plan in our back pocket for if a nice chunk of change comes in and we know what we want next. But it's always a balancing act. We want to expand as quickly as possible, but we want to remain frugal. Every dollar counts and it needs to be used for maximum effect. We want to stay scrappy because that's not only a good company, you tend to make a better product when you're scrappy instead of when you're a little bit too comfortable. Maintaining an adequately long runway, keep the company going, is critical to keep the company stable and secure. You don't want to wonder where your next meal is going to come from. And so, we very careful about not getting too far over the tips of our skis in how quickly we hire and how we spend our money. Of course, we have internal targets and interim milestones for production. And, you're seeing that every month in the newsletter at a higher level, but that's what the Road to Alpha is, and that's what our newsletter is. And I got to tell you, I talk to people in the industry all the time, and I was talking to this lead producer at a large company who's developing a game, and we have good talks like once a month and just share ideas and connections. And maybe this is bragging a little bit, bragging on my team, but he said that he's never seen our level of openness regarding development, the amount of information we share, how we share it. And oftentimes, and he doesn't have to share information, they're closed door, they're in a bunker developing their game, but he will share our newsletter with his team as an example of how to keep a community informed. And we know we're not perfect, but we're getting pretty good at it, and how to update people on progress of a game. And I thought that was really cool. That made me feel good. So we're doing something right. Can always do better. Something right.
That's flattering. Yeah.
I love that, man. That is so good.
And this is a multi-billion-dollar company, by the way.
Nice. I've got similar from other CMs saying about inquiring about why we release so much, and basically it's the same response. It's communication, and it works for us, and it always has. But yeah, I still get that baffled, how do you guys do it? Which is always good to hear.
How do you get away with it? Doesn't your CEO get angry with you?
Yeah, that's it. No, he encourages it.
That's sort of going to tie into some of the questions later on too, but we might as well dig in a little bit now since we're on the topic. But when you're crowdfunding a game, it's so different than when, as you put it, Chris, when you're in a bunker, when you're fully funded and you have your plans and then you do your big marketing, just shortly before launch. It's very, very, very different when you're crowdfunding. When we started doing it, not to say that we were the first people to do it by any stretch, but it's still a relatively new concept, and there wasn't any kind of guidebook.
Yeah.
It was a lot of lessons learned. So we made a lot of mistakes, particularly early on. But we also have this community who we have in channel with us right now too, who have constantly given us the type of feedback that we needed to improve our communications too. And we're always going to be, have room for improvement. So I don't want to claim that we're perfect by any stretch. I enjoy coming into these channels and talking with the VIPs and with the forum members and discussing ways that we can improve. And a lot of these communication ideas just came from those conversations. And really, when you think about it, that's the way that modern companies really are approaching their marketing and their communications. They're doing it through their audience. It's a two-way street. You see a lot of people now not even going to the big conventions. Like, a lot of companies don't even go to the big conventions because they find other platforms where it's equally substantial for them to communicate directly with their audience, and they get more out of it, and the audience gets more out of it in a lot of ways. Not condemning.
I had to add here, though, we do really appreciate constructive criticism a lot more than nasty criticism. So whenever you keep it constructive, please, it helps us, and it's a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been encouraging that on behalf of the team for many years. Like, constructive criticism has helped shape, as Ben said, and Chris, like the company that we are and how we interact and communicate with everybody. So very valuable. We've got thick skin, and we do appreciate that. But as long as it's constructive, no nasty stuff.
Yeah, don't call us names, please.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to Ben. Are you planning on a big marketing campaign at some point, or just a steady ramp up in marketing as development continues?
Yeah. So, yes, definitely. There will be. it's broken down into a series of campaigns, really. We're actually in the middle of one right now. It's a little bit more subtle than what you'll see prior to launch. But again, communication is important. So you always have to have something, out there and communicating in some way. So we're breaking it down. Right now, it's sort of loosely broken down into quarters, and they start tying into each other. This one that we're in the middle of right now is largely based around this next pre-alpha that's coming up. But that doesn't mean it just stops after that. After that, we continue on and we take a look at the next milestone, where we are, and and what our objectives are for that particular time.
Yeah, nice, man. Bouncing back to Chris, at what point during development will you be comfortable describing the entire funding model in detail? Bit of a tough one to break down this question.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely certain what this person is asking, and if they want to clarify in the chat, that would be fine too. When I hear the word funding model, my answer is, well, it's crowdfunding, private investment, and potential strategic partnerships. And to be clear, potential strategic partnerships only if there's a very tight philosophical match with that investor. But if they're asking more about shareholder breakdown, who invested how much, unfortunately, that's never going to be released. We're a private company, and shareholders expect their privacy. Private companies just don't do that, and we have agreements with them, and we're not going to be talking about who owns how much.
Friends actually in the channel and asked that question, and it was about box price, subscription model, that sort of thing. So I think it was more about revenue model as opposed to funding model.
A revenue model. Okay. Yeah. I think there's a question about that later, so maybe we can cover it then.
Okay.
Okay. So this person goes on to say, explore the rich landscape of fragmented civilizations forced together by massive planar collisions and become part of the world itself as it tells its story. This screams teaser trailer. When will we have a sizzle trailer dripping with Pantheon lore?
Makes sense. From a budget and marketing perspective, Ben, you're the marketing guy. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, the trailers are notorious beasts. They can be crazy expensive. You can also do them on a budget. It really spans the gamut. We don't have the kind of budget that most trailers you see would require. As an example, guys, and I'm not kidding here. There's some games, even just taking in-game footage and making it into something cool can be upwards of $500,000, which just seems silly to us to do a spend like that, especially at this time. So anything we do would be in-house, and it would have to be at a time where it makes sense, where it's going to, where we can really show off what we've got to show off. In the meantime, we have little teaser type stuff. Like I know that the content team posted up those before and after short vids. Was it last week or this month in any case? So we'll definitely have to keep on doing stuff like that. But when it comes to a more expansive world and lore teaser, it's going to be a little while before we get into that kind of thing.
Yeah, wow. $500,000, man.
You got to kind of ask yourself, too, is our trailers a little bit old school, baby? I mean, the sizzle's nice, but, lately, short-form content seems to be more impactful.
That's what I was thinking, too. I was watching some Gamescom trailers this week, and it's shocking to me how much money is still being spent on those trailers, because they look great, but they don't have anything to do with the gameplay. There's sorts of money in it, and I'm reading comments. The gamers in general are saying the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. It's like, oh, nice trailer, but what's the game actually like? So I think you're right, Chris. I think at one time they had a purpose and a real defined effect. Now I don't know. So it's a little bit different.
And $500,000, man. That's big.
Oh, when
dollars.
You're talking,
that's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those fully CGI, custom made trailers. I know Blur is a company that makes some of the most renowned ones. You're talking a lot more than that.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got like Ronick and Minus and myself that could do it for half that. So just if you guys want a trailer, just let us know. All right, moving on. We've got, have you been pleased with the Refer a Friend program's results, Ben? And do you see the program sticking around in future testing phases? Are there any plans to make it easier to gift a pledge, i.e. just being able to give a code to a friend?
That sounds like a lot of questions. Okay, so let's break that down. Are you pleased with the Refer Friends program's results? Do you see the program sticking around in the future? It's done a bit of activity. It hasn't done a lot, but we kind of suspected that was going to be the case. Because what we want to do is have the system set up so that it's ready to go and that people are starting to use it, familiar with it, and that we know how it's going to be working on our end as well. So I expect that its popularity is going to pick up when more people are playing, maybe during alpha or somewhere around there. But yeah, any plans to make it easier to gift a pledge? Just being able to give a code to a friend. Yeah, that's ultimately where we want to go as well. We just need the back end to support that, but that's a work in progress right now. So
yeah, absolutely. Mike's mentioned that too. Something we want to make as easy as possible for you guys. So Chris, we've had a promised single account manager, website revamp, new forums, and pledge system revamp for a while. Any updates on those?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the website revamp, but the single account manager, single sign-on, and the new forum are really critical. We want those internally too, and really quite desperately. Not having that makes it tough on us as well. And so it's a high priority, but it's also one of those priorities that seems to get preempted by direct game-related issues that we're pretty sure everybody would agree are more important. And that's happened several times. Okay, we're going to get it done, boom, and then something pops up. So as a result, we've actually done a great deal of work on the foundation, the core components that allow single sign-on, and we'll implement it as soon as something else doesn't get in the way out of the blue. And once single sign-on is done, the new forum is actually easy. The real blocker is for many things, including the pledge system, is single sign-on. Single sign-on gets done. We have a new e-commerce system that connects to that, and we have a new forum that the VIPs are already using, and everything gets connected, and it just works.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely on our list. And as Chris said, it's frustrating for us as well as you guys. But yeah, game stuff kind of comes first. All right, Ben, we've discussed potential guild pledges before. How are those coming along?
We just need the infrastructure to support them. We've got some good ideas. I know, Kilson, you've come up with some ideas. I've just talked over a few times with the CS department as well. Mike and Jason both had some good ideas too. So the ideas are there. It's just about a way to be able to deliver it. So we're looking at potential solutions for that while we're trying. Hopefully, it will come with the new store, but I can't guarantee that until we're a little bit further along there.
Yeah, but when we do get information, we'll let you guys know as soon as we can. Mm. Chris, the pledge page once indicated that PA tests would be every few weeks. What does the ramp up to alpha look like in terms of PA sessions?
Ben, you want me to start this one, or you want to take it?
Well,
I'll go.
Why don't you go?
Okay. So the objective of test sessions is to move production forward. You all know this, by getting feedback on gameplay and finding bugs. So that's ultimately, at the core, what drives our session planning. We want to be testing more often, but we can only do that if it doesn't become a resource sink and delay production. And there will come a time when more frequent iterative testing makes sense for you and for us. And honestly, we hope that will be sooner rather than later. We've been wanting to do it for a long time, and things get in the way. We weigh these priorities very, very carefully. And, sometimes we can't do everything we want to do when we want to do it. But soon is the plan.
VR soon.
No, real soon. Or Mike Butler will blow his top.
While we were planning.
Yeah, CR soon.
There you go. While we were planning this upcoming pre-alpha session, we've had this discussion as well, and it's not ready to go into too many details just yet, but I will say this, that we are discussing a more regular cadence for pre-alpha tests, meaning we're trying to figure out a way, if it's feasible, and how it would be possible to do regular testing at regular intervals. So instead of, once every couple of months when we're there, we will have a more regular testing interval that you can start scheduling around, start looking forward to. So we're working towards that. We'll announce more of that once we have that kind of locked in and figured out. First, we just kind of need to take stock on how this upcoming pre-alpha session goes, find out what the major issues are, take care of them, and then start the scheduling. If all goes to plan, sessions will resume with more regularity than you've seen before.
Yeah, that's it. It'll be a good day for everybody when that happens. It's just a bigger deal and as exciting for us as it is for you guys to show off all our hard work. So we can't wait. Chris, what's been the hardest thing to achieve in MMO development if your studio does not have enough funding support?
Well, obviously, budget planning is challenging. We kind of have variable budget planning based on available capital, and that's just the reality. But everybody deals with that. But the most critical components of an MMO are, and you guys all know this, the gameplay, production and operation tools, and the content itself. And we're really fortunate to have top-notch talent in all of those areas, just not enough in some of them. Headcount-wise, we're solid in programming, and the core functionality of the game and the mechanics are coming along really, really well, and just total rock star team on that end. We need more people in tech operations. Some people call it IT, but with a game studio, it's really a lot more than IT, so we call it tech or tech operations. But even with the small headcount there, the talent we have there covers for the lack of people. Similar situation with QA. QA needs to be expanded, but even with the small crew there, they're just doing a bang-up job. The biggie, the real challenge is, an MMO. We're building a PvE MMO, not PvP. So the players don't get to entertain themselves by fighting each other the entire time. And so we got to build this massive world and fill it with content. And it's got to be high quality and compelling. And so we need more funding to hire writers, artists, animators, special effects artists, tech artists, and world builders. Simple as that. A real MMO, end of the day, it's all about the content.
Absolutely. And we do have some amazing, we're so lucky to have such talented people in all areas of our company. It's pretty amazing to see. Sticking with you, Chris, given the significant number of changes with the HDRP, networking, combat classes, terrain streaming, etc., are you transitioning from PA5 to PA6? Are we continuing to use numbers?
Yeah, we've dropped using numbers. It really doesn't have any meaning for us internally. It's not something that we decided to do for structural reasons or planning reasons. It just kind of started happening. I'm not quite sure how. And it created some confusion and some misunderstandings along the way. And just not doing it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Keep it nice and simple. We heard that Pantheon had declined some offers from publishers that wanted to change stuff like monetization. Can you give examples of what they wanted to change or implement?
Everybody on this call can probably figure it out for themselves and just by guessing. But I'll tell you anyway. The most common refrains are more casual, free to play, and microtransactions. I mean, that's not going to be news to anybody. And we don't think very highly of those business models. There are enough casual free-to-play games in the world, and that's great. Nothing against them. It's totally appropriate for certain genres, and it's even okay for some MMOs, but we're not building that kind of game. Making Pantheon casual and free-to-play literally misses the point, the essence that defines Pantheon, its vision, and frankly, we believe it would make the title much less successful. We might have a bigger pop in the first 6 months, but then things would fade because it wouldn't be unique, and people would just move on to the next casual free-to-play game. We're trying to build a world that people will enjoy for decades, and it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, that's it. The casual free-to-play stuff is just chewed up and spat out so quickly by players that they move on, and we don't want that. We want to build a community and, a fun environment for decades, a world for you to come and live in, not to spit up and chew up. So this person wants to congratulate us on the funding. And apart from extra feet on the ground, what does this mean for the game in general? Will there be enhanced, like including in the game that couldn't be done? What will be enhanced or included in the game that couldn't be done pre-funding with this extra money?
Yeah. First, thank you for the congratulations. Doing these funding rounds, it's a lot of work, and it's part of it is person to person and talking to people about our cool project and hobnobbing with people, and that part of it's kind of fun, but there's also a very technical legal part of it that is a real grind, and I have a lot of experience with that in my past lives, and we have Tim Sullivan, our CFO, who's just really good at grinding through stuff. But it's a lot of work, and it's the lifeblood. It's it's what lets us hire people and tell people about the game. So thanks. The game features of Pantheon are already planned. When we tell you about something you haven't heard about, there's a 99% chance we've known about it all along. We just haven't talked about it yet. We don't add new features when we get additional funding. That's called feature creep. And, this game is taken long enough as it is. We're not getting into feature creep. So almost all of the funding goes to content production.
Yeah, nice. So once you have a good understanding of when pre-alpha will be sunsetted, will you revamp the pledge packages, to either remove pre-alpha access or make it much less expensive?
Can I take this one?
Yes.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this and pondering over it and thinking about how to relay our plans succinctly, and the answer is yes.
Wow, that was such a good build-up, and I'm very impressed with the answer. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Amazing. I think Mike's discussed this a little bit too in just general PA chat, but when we hit that level and PA passes, we'll do some kind of revamp or something to make the pledges desirable. Okay, so is there a target number for pledges that you would like to have in alpha and beta? So are we looking at a population number that we'd like in game for testing? And if so, do we gauge our price point for pledge packages to hit that sweet spot?
The target number is as many as we can responsibly handle, since these people have in-game privileges. Ben?
Yeah, I'll just say the same thing in different language. We don't really have any set numbers right now. That might change, if we find that we're overcrowded or undercrowded, or so. I don't know. But so I don't want to say we'll never have a set number. But right now, there's no set numbers.
Yeah, great. This one's on subscription model. This person would like to see something simple like the original game unit price and a monthly sub with expansions included, so as not to split the community. They're seeing, free-to-play live service and even Game Pass DLC models beginning to ruin gaming completely, in their opinion, though MMORPGs are a bit of a special case. Any thoughts on the release and post-release cost of the game? Chris?
We haven't finalized prices. That's something that will be formally announced when the time is right. But I can say don't expect any big surprises. There's kind of a zone for this kind of thing. Expansions, very expensive to produce, so it would be difficult to make those free. I completely understand what the questioner is saying here about not wanting to fragment the community, and that's something that's always kind of bothered me as well. But you'd be surprised at the take rate on expansions. It's really high, and so the community maybe doesn't get as fragmented as you'd expect.
Yeah. Especially if the game's been out for a few years and you freshen it up with a whole new zone or race or something like that, it's usually a lot of people will come back and jump on and we'll hang out again together. So moving on to support and service, this person believes many games, including MMORPGs, have and are failing due to a lack of involvement from game studios after the release. They would love to see lots of GMs and lots of events and support involvement. Any thoughts on VR's ongoing active involvement level? Chris, do you want to start?
Well, for starters, here we are talking to our community on a Friday night. So if that's not involved, I don't know what is. And I don't know what else could show commitment. So, we want this game to thrive for decades, and part of that means having a good, healthy, thriving community, and we're a part of that community, and we want to stay connected, and we want to promote that and be actively involved. The number of GMs and events, that stuff's a pretty heavy load to manage, but of course we want to do it as much as we can.
Yeah.
Ben, Dean?
What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, very similar. On staff already, we have several people who are really passionate about that sort of thing and want to see it happen. Like Chris said, though, it's sort of a tough thing to gauge until you get going. Once you start having hundreds of thousands or even millions of players, it becomes a bit tricky to have that personalized experience for everybody. So to what degree we're able to do it, we'll just sort of have to figure it out as we go, but we're definitely aiming to have involvement for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big part. So moving on to policies and guidelines. What does VR plan in terms of play nice policy or published guidance on behavior or just info on what might be expected in the game, Ben?
Well, I'm glad that you bring this up because I know that some of our VIPs are aware of it and some of our audience in Discord are aware of it in general. But just to sort of reiterate for anybody who might be listening to the recording of this, we have set up a new role for conduct and security manager whose primary focus is on this very sort of thing. And that person just happens to be on this call. So maybe you should be the one answering the question there, Kilson.
Oh, hi. How you going? So, look, we are looking at a type of a play nice. I had a chat with you, Ben, about this a couple of weeks ago, and we believe the term play nice is a little bit condescending, play nice kiddies. It's not really about that. Our community is very mature, and we want to change it to something like basic, but descriptive, like community conduct. And I will work with the team on that, so you can expect a very clear and concise coverage for harassment, bullying, discrimination, and general toxicity across all of our platforms, including in-game. but yeah, we're looking to take it a step further and drive home what those terms mean to us, and to be very clear on what we will and won't tolerate, and actively manage that via staff and moderators and GMs, etc., in game and across our forums and that. So it's very important to us, and we are actively working on that. We've got I think that policy is actually next on my list to get stuck into. So we'll release more on that as it comes available. All right, so we move back to Chris for companion services. Any thoughts on having an out-of-game but still online companion service, like access to auction houses, banking, and equipment?
So it's my dog's dinner time. If you hear them whining, you know what's going on. One of them's staring at me, and one of them thinks she's staring at me, but she's blind, so she's staring at the wall.
I love it.
Anyhow, out of game but still online companion services. I love these kinds of ideas, and we've kicked around a bunch of ideas, and if we can come up with something that keeps people involved when they can't play, but on the other hand does not in any way discourage people from logging in and being present in the world, we might do it.
Yeah, awesome. And sticking with Chris on the topic of anti-hacking and third-party apps. So some seem to think that third-party apps are impossible to stop, and that minimizing client-side data and obfuscating the data is impossible or prohibitive in terms of performance and development cost. Any thoughts on whether or how hacking could be minimized and third-party apps be disabled for Pantheon?
Yeah, so I wouldn't cast it as impossible. It's just kind of a never-ending project. It's kind of like chasing a virus that mutates, and you just got to keep hitting it. And you got to maybe put up with some sniffles every once in a while. But the client will be whack-a-mole. Yeah, whack-a-mole. The client will be as dumb as possible. Success in an MMO, in any client-server game, is having the stupidest possible client that just doesn't have any decision-making ability. It's really just an input-output device. And will obfuscate sensitive data as much as is possible. Vinyl and the Burst compiler help tremendously in this area. But ultimately, I mean, let's face it, you all know the history of MMOs. People will try to exploit anything they can. And some of this behavior we're never going to call emergent gameplay. An exploit is an exploit, and people are going to be trying hard to do it, and we're going to be vigilant and do as much as possible to prevent exploits. So, not impossible, just an ongoing project. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Good answer. Will there be much of a gap or will pre-alpha? So this is the gap between pre-alpha and alpha. Is there a road to, I butchered that 4 times now. There is a road to alpha, but is there an aim for pre-alpha that when reached means that it's done, or will it continue until alpha?
Well, the road to alpha that we publish monthly is really just a different name for pre-alpha completion checklist. So it's out there. Those are the things that we need to complete to start alpha, to call it alpha.
Yeah, absolutely. Will there be much of a gap between, or will pre-alpha sessions continue to be useful until alpha is viable? And if the gap is anticipated, might there be some other level of access between pre-alpha and alpha that would be useful to the team and for maybe fun for the testers?
We really want to do more frequent, smaller population focused testing starting soon and frequently. It's good for development. It's good for the community. It's not quite the same as a big gameplay testing type session. It's focus testing. It's focused on something. So you're not free to run around and do whatever you want. You kind of have a mission, a theme. But I think people will enjoy it, and they'll be able to see progress, and they'll really be able to contribute. And more frequent, smaller population focus testing as soon as possible.
Awesome. Ben, do you have anything to add to that, mate?
Not what as we were talking about earlier. We're also, once we're confident in our ability to sustain it, we want to switch to more regular testing as soon as we can too.
Yeah, awesome. So speaking about testing, the NDA in pre-alpha or alpha, given how polished pre-alpha looks, might the NDA be lifted at some point during the pre-alpha sessions? And if not, will it be lifted for alpha? And this person's kind of waiting to get their own YouTube videos and stuff out there.
I mean, obviously, we'd love for people to be able to show off Pantheon as soon as possible when it's ready. And, that's when we feel it's ready. And it's actually internally, it's quite a debate. Is it ready or is it not? We'll be, we do want to at least loosen it soon, but to be determined. But there is a sincere desire to allow people to show off Pantheon sooner rather than later. Ben Dean, that's really your area, so I shouldn't be speaking for you.
Oh, good. No, it's good. I don't think it will be lightened in pre-alpha. I can't say that definitively, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be lightened in pre-alpha. Maybe later in pre-alpha once we're ready to go into alpha, but we'll take it step by step. Definitely planning to have it lightened during alpha, though. Alpha, there's going to be a lot more people, and it's going to be a different environment. So if we don't get to lightening it during pre-alpha, it will be quite a bit less restrictive during alpha.
I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that. And so, keeping along the same topic, it's a long time since folks were able to apply for a streamer program. Is that still a thing? And might more folks be invited to join in with developer streams or be able to make their own pre-NDA lift?
Yeah, if you want to sign up for the streamer program, you can go to pantheonmmo.com/streamers. You can still sign up there. What we do with that list is we like to use it generally to keep track of who's interested in streaming Pantheon when opportunities arise. Obviously, we can't have all of everyone who signed up for it, streaming during pre-alpha. We just don't have the resources for that. But it does allow us to keep in touch with people who are interested in stream. So once we get to the point where we can start doing special events, streamer-specific events or giveaways or things like that, then it's a good list to be on if that's one of your interests.
Awesome, man. So what's been different about marketing for something like Pantheon, which is a crowdfunded long dev time project versus a more conventional project? They think many folks keep comparing Pantheon to big studio games when it comes to various things and marketing. So marketing's no exception, but I imagine many things are way different. And we'll stick with Ben.
I mean,
go ahead, Chris.
No, please.
It is very different. It's been something that we've been battling with. One of the comments in that question was we keep getting compared to large studios with millions and millions of dollars in budgeting and in marketing budgets. We just don't have that. But that doesn't mean we don't have our own ways of doing things and ways to be effective as well. We addressed this a little bit earlier in this podcast as well, or in this discussion as well, and I talked a little bit about it in the newsletter. But if I was to pick one thing that is fundamentally different about marketing Pantheon versus a traditional pre-funded game, I would just say the length of engagement. And we knew it going in. I remember that first meeting in Brad's garage. It's like I wrote up a marketing proposal, and one of the very first things in that document was how are we going to keep people engaged for what's going to be years of development. And you don't have to do that with when you have your funding right out of the gate. And it's just a completely different thing. And like I said earlier too, there was no guidebook. People were trying to do it. People were starting to do it with Kickstarters and Indiegogos and other forms of crowdfunding. But it was a lot of learning involved, and well, we're still learning. But that's the biggest, in my opinion, fundamental difference is just the length, because people don't tend. Your average person doesn't tend to stay interested in something for years at a time, waiting for it to come out. They might casually check in on it, on its progress every once in a while, but keeping things interesting and engaging was always going to be a challenge. And as it turns out, surprisingly, it's not as big of a challenge as we thought, because we always have things to talk about when it comes to development. And this is where, the transparency in discussing the development of Pantheon actually helps us, because it gives us something to update people with. So I don't know. We sort of figured out part of the formula anyway. So
that's it. Sorry, Chris, did you want to add something to that?
I don't think I need to add anything.
That was very well done, Ben. Very well covered.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the co-stream. So in the all access stream, Chris talked about how the tools used to build Pantheon are there and implemented, but they are not feature complete. When will the tools used to build the game become feature complete, and do other systems need to be in place to finish the tools?
So don't get me wrong, but the answer to this one is quite literally never. Studios are always working on their tools, and we'll always be working on our tools. But we're pretty close to what we need to create a viable product. In other words, we can't say the tools, we can't proceed because the tools aren't ready. That's just not the case. We're in a good place on the tools, and they're only going to get better.
Yeah, awesome, mate. And you yourself in the stream mentioned that Series A3 funding, as well as Series B funding, Pantheon is now in the Series B funding phase. What does that mean, and is there any progress on that front?
So there's been a good bit of progress on Series B already. Just nothing we can really talk about at this point. These are private investors, and there are discussions taking place right now. But as usual, if there are any accredited investors out there who want to join the party, we'd love to talk to you.
Yes, please hit us up. On the development side of things, what's one major thing you'd like to see accomplished before the end of 2022? We'll stick with Chris.
One. That's easy.
Just one, sir.
Okay. Vinyl implementation and all related functionality. We're just on the edge of that, and it's one of the biggest, most important things for the game right now. And yeah, Vinyl.
Very exciting. And what about you, Ben? What's one major thing that you'd like to see accomplished before the end of 2022?
Class pizza. Or paladins.
I was going to say that's not what you had written down, but equally as important. On the marketing side of things, does everyone on the team at VR reach out to social groups and try to network with potential investors, or does this only happen through the marketing team?
So the marketing team is not actually involved in investment issues that much anymore. I used to work pretty closely with Ben on this stuff, but we've defined investor relations type stuff as partner development. A lot of companies call it business development. We don't really like that term, so we call it partner development. And yeah, it's a lot of networking, but there are really strict rules about how this can be done. You can't actively, publicly solicit investments. Sign up for an investment in Pantheon. All you can really do is you can tell the world that you're open to investments. So, when we talk about these things, if you listen carefully, we're using very specific language. We've started our Series B, it's open. We can talk to you if you're an accredited investor, but yeah, it's a lot of private networking, and getting to know people and finding new leads. And we have a lot of people hear about us on the internet and over the transom, totally unsolicited interest in investing as well. So it's just a combination of things, and it's a lot of legwork and hobnobbing.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. So as the end of PA gets nearer, how will you convince new VIP PA testers that it's worth pledging? This is a good question too. We might stick with Chris.
Yeah, so maybe I'm reading too much into the word convince. How will we convince new VIP PA testers that it's worth pledging? That kind of strikes me as hard push marketing. And our approach is less about pitching Pantheon hard at this point and more about just creating awareness of the title and its tenets. And if those tenets are a match, we'd love to have you pledge and join testing. But at this point in development, it's pretty important to have the community get it. So it's not about convincing. It's more about creating awareness and seeing if there's a philosophical match.
Yeah, well said. Do you have anything to add, Ben?
VIP pledges and some of the upper tier pledges in general, they're not for everyone, and that's okay. To some people, the price point is worth it. To others, it's not, and that's perfectly fine. If I were evaluating it as a consumer myself, and we put a lot of thought of this when we're putting packages together and try and think about it as a consumer, because many of us started that way. Is it worth it? And to me, when I think about it, I don't think about the VIP pledges in particular as pre-alpha test pledges, as just pre-alpha test pledges. I know that there's an argument to be made that's the most valuable thing on there, but you have to consider the other things that you get as well. You get discussions like this, you get sneak peeks, you get more frequent direct interaction with the devs. Obviously, there's testing too, but for me, I would see more value in everything else that you get with it, and the stuff that keeps on carrying on past pre-alpha and beyond. I think there's definite value to it there. But we're not going to force it on anybody. If it's your thing, great. If you want to join us behind the scenes, great. If you don't, then hope we still see you in game. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And just honestly, from a simple CM, conduct security manager, Aussie, that has simple needs, my way to convince people would just be Tim Tams. And if they really need their arm twisted, then maybe a Tim Tam slam. Add that extra twist into it. They won't be able to resist. And I would love to see how many people are typing now, Googling Tim Tam slam. Okay, so moving on to the next.
It's just this topic we've been talking about a pre-show and now during the show. It's like, and we don't even get any consideration money for it. So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
we just reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, we're really pushing your product.
Excuse me, brand deal. We've already started advertising, so a bit of back pay would be lovely.
We could fund Pantheon in a week.
Yeah,
Tim Tam money.
So the last question, as we wrap this up, pretty much bang on time, which is great. We'll go to Ben. Aside from pledge benefits like belonging to the Founders Conclave, are there any benefits you'd expect VIP to provide once we have moved into Alpha? For example, broader availability of Alpha servers for VIP testers, separate testing sessions for new content, or from a testing point of view, are you expecting VIPs to merge completely with the other Alpha testers?
We're always looking for value to add to all of the pledges, VIPs included. I don't know if it would make a lot of sense to separate VIPs from other testers on the testing realms, on the live testing realms. Seems counterproductive to the purpose of testing to me, but there are definitely still going to be additional opportunities like ad hoc testing, focus testing that we discussed a little bit earlier, unreleased features, that sort of thing. There will definitely still be a use for these types of testers beyond pre-alpha.
Perfect. Awesome, mate. Thank you for that. Good information. And just before we wrap up, we just want to do a little announcement at the end of this segment to let you guys all know that this, just to say a big thank you to you all for supporting us and following along with our developer roundtables over the years. It's been an absolute pleasure to shine a light on all of our amazing team members. And taking a deeper dive into what they do and to show them off to you all every month. As of today, though, this will be my last time hosting the DRT as I move more into my role as the conduct and security manager. But never fear, I am handing you over to very safe hands into the content team. And David's going to take the reins and makes a few snazzy changes and freshen things up a little bit. So it won't be the DRT as you know it. It'll be slightly different, but I think you'll like it. It's going to be a bit more involved, and I'll pass over to Ben, who can explain the changes that we have in store for you all.
First, Ben, I want to thank you for how many years have you been doing this now? The DRT.
I think it's like 5 or 6 or something.
It's been a while, and every month
loved every minute too.
You've provided us with some good, entertaining content, and I know that the developers like going on stream, and I think I speak for the VIPs when I say that they've been enjoying it. They seem to be. So just wanted to thank you personally for all of the work and effort that you've done over the years. It's been a lot of good stuff, as Desrin's putting in there.
Drink. Thank you, man.
So thank you for that. We are moving into a new era, so to speak. So Dave Ronick Schlau will be hosting something similar to the DRTs in this very channel. So once a month, we'll still have an opportunity for VIPs to come in and talk with devs. It's we're going to call it the live dev chat, and it starts on September 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Dave's going to find a dev. We have some around somewhere, and we're going to he's going to pick a topic, and we're going to talk with them about that topic, and we're going to interact with you guys too, everybody who's in the channel. So you can have just a little bit more interactive of an experience. You can ask your questions, or post your comments, and we'll be reading them throughout and work it into the conversation where appropriate. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. I believe first person that we have up, I don't know if they want me to hold on to this. It was just decided or just locked in today, but we're going to have Steve Clover on for the first show on September 8th. So I think that's the plans. So that should be good. From there, in addition to that, and sort of staying in the vein of the DRTs, Tony Guidi Minus is going to be hosting a regular podcast for Parting the Veil Live. Him and Chris Perkins are going to be doing a monthly segment and a monthly podcast for that, which will be in-depth discussions around systems, strategies, designs for Pantheon. Be digging in deep. It should be a lot of fun, a lot of insight, and additionally, they're going to be having introducing select questions from the community that will be asked during the show and worked into the show as well. Parting the Veil live premieres at 6 p.m. Pacific on September 22nd on Twitch, twitch.tv/Visionary Realms. The videos on demand will be available also on YouTube, so you won't have to miss it. And it'll also be available, I believe, through multiple podcast streaming sources like Spotify. The monthly schedule has changed because of this a little bit, but for the most part, it stays the same. Our stream still stays the same in the time of the month that goes on. The newsletter is actually being pushed to the end of the month, which helps us to just sort of take a look at the month in review and kind of recap what's been going on, and then look at the month ahead and keep up to date that way. So that's kind of our big monthly changes. All of that will be summarized next week, I believe, in our posting of the monthly calendar. So you'll be able to keep track of everything that's going on.
That is awesome. Thank you very much, sir. I'm hugely excited for the changes, and we'll definitely still be around. I'm not going to go and hide or run away or anything. I'm still here in the CM role, and also just taking on a little bit more of a serious kind of dumping hours into the new role as well to make sure we get that right. But I will definitely be around and jump into the channels and hang out with you guys. But thank you very much. Also, a huge thank you to both of you. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I totally flubbed on this one. Minus said in channel 2. I didn't realize I didn't say it. The dev live chats taking place in this channel is going to be VIP only. That is to say, it's going to be we're not planning on public releases for those at this time. So they will be an exclusive opportunity for VIPs to participate.
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine, mate. That's good information. This is the last one that will actually be shared publicly. So yeah, after this, it's just VIPs. But a huge thank you to both you and Chris. I know you guys are both very busy. I appreciate your time, and it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Great.
It's always a pleasure.
Great to be here, and an honor to be here for the last one.
Absolutely. Got the two big stars on. So many big stars. It's so hard to say. That's why I keep saying legends every time I introduce you guys, because you're all superstars. But thank you very much, guys. Thank you to all the VIPs and everybody listening. And I look forward to seeing you in the new changes. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Wow.
Thanks, folks. That's a wrap for another VIP Developer Roundtable. I hope you all enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe to Pantheon for more. If you want to get in on the live developer roundtables, you can by pledging as a VIP at pantheonmmo.com/pledge. Until next time, farewell.